someone told you that you could sell your memories in exchange for power, what would you give up? Your most painful moment? Your first love? Or maybe that embarrassing failure that still keeps you up at night? This is the question that changed Ethan Cross's life forever.
Ethan Cross is 28 years old, and right now, he's on his knees, scrubbing the marble floors of a luxury office building in downtown Manhattan. The same building where, 3 years ago, he used to walk these halls in a tailored Armani suit, leading project meetings and making six-figure decisions. But that was before everything fell apart, before the project failure, before the public humiliation, before his girlfriend left him and his father stopped returning his calls. Now, he's invisible, just another face in the janitorial staff, someone people look past without a second thought. The fluorescent lights above him flicker, casting harsh shadows across his tired face.
It's a Tuesday afternoon when Marcus Kane walks by. Marcus Kane, who used to fetch Ethan's coffee. Marcus, who now sits in the director's office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. He stops right in front of Ethan, his Italian leather shoes gleaming under the lights.
He looks down at the freshly mopped floor and deliberately kicks over the water bucket. Water splashes everywhere, all over Ethan's uniform, all over the floor he just spent 20 minutes cleaning.
Oops, Marcus says with that signature smirk, the one that makes Ethan's blood boil. Ethan, you didn't clean this properly. Aren't you supposed to be good at your job? How come you can't even mop a floor correctly now? The other employees nearby start snickering. Some pull out their phones, probably recording this for the office group chat. Ethan can already imagine the memes. Ethan keeps his head down, water soaking through his knees. Sorry, Director Kane. I'll clean it up right away. Remember your place, Marcus says, loud enough for everyone to hear. His voice echoes through the marble lobby. You're just a janitor now. Don't think that being a manager 3 years ago means anything today. A woman in a sharp Chanel business suit walks past, her red-bottom heels clicking against the marble like a countdown. Sophia Winter, the company's new data analyst, ice blonde hair pulled back in a severe bun, cold blue eyes that could freeze hell over. Beautiful in the way a glacier is beautiful, untouchable and deadly. She glances at Ethan with barely concealed disgust, her perfectly painted red lips curling. I heard he got fired 3 years ago for screwing up a major project. Lost the company what, 50 million? And he actually had the nerve to come back here as a janitor. That takes some serious thick skin. Ethan's knuckles turn white as he grips the mop handle. The wood creaks under the pressure, but he doesn't say anything. He can't afford to. This job, humiliating as it is, pays his rent in that shoebox apartment in Queens. But something inside him cracks, just a little, like ice on a frozen lake, right before it shatters completely. That night, Ethan walks home through the city's back alleys. It's past midnight, and the streets are empty except for the occasional drunk stumbling out of a dive bar and the distant wail of sirens. He's exhausted. Not just physically, but in a way that goes deeper. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. The kind that settles into your bones and makes you wonder if this is all there is. That's when he sees it. A small shop tucked between two abandoned buildings. The kind of place that shouldn't exist in this part of the city. The sign above the door glows with soft blue light, like neon, but somehow warmer, more alive. Memory exchange. He's walked this route 1,000 times, 5 nights a week for 3 years. This shop has never been here before. An old man appears in the doorway, as if he'd been waiting. He's wearing a 3-piece suit that looks like it's from another era, maybe the 1920s, maybe older. His eyes are ancient, but his smile is kind. Young man, do you want to change your fate? Ethan stops. His heart is pounding, though he doesn't know why. What? We buy memories, the old man says simply, like he's talking about buying used books. And we sell power. The more precious your memory, the greater the power you receive in return. This is a scam, Ethan says, but his feet won't move. He can't walk away.
Is it? The old man holds out a crystal sphere about the size of a baseball. It's perfectly clear, catching the streetlight and refracting it into 1,000 colors.
Think of any memory at all. Ethan hesitates. Then he thinks of his childhood. His mother in their old kitchen in Boston, making him birthday pancakes for the first time. She was wearing that ridiculous apron with the cartoon chickens on it. Her apron was covered in batter, her hair was a mess, but her smile was warm and genuine. The smell of vanilla and butter filled the whole house.
The crystal sphere suddenly glows, bright white light pulsing from its core. Numbers appear inside it, floating like they're suspended in water. 500 power points. Ethan's breath catches in his throat. What is this?
That memory is worth 500 points, the old man explains, his voice gentle. If you sell it to me, you'll forget it completely. It'll be like it never happened. But in exchange, you'll gain power, physical strength, intelligence, business acumen, combat skills, the ability to read people's intentions. Whatever you need most, the power will manifest.
This is impossible!
And yet, here we are. The old man's eyes gleam in the blue light. The question isn't whether it's possible, young man. The question is, what are you willing to give up?
The crystal sphere continues to glow in Ethan's hands, warm against his skin. He stares at it, and for the first time in 3 years, he feels something other than despair. He feels hope.
Ethan doesn't sleep that night. He lies in his cramped studio apartment, staring at the water-stained ceiling, listening to his neighbors arguing through the paper-thin walls. He's thinking about the crystal sphere, thinking about the number, thinking about 3 years of humiliation, 3 years of Marcus's smirk, 3 years of being invisible.
By morning, he's made his decision. He returns to the memory exchange before dawn. The shop is there, exactly where it was, glowing softly in the pre-dawn darkness. The old man is already there, sitting behind an antique wooden counter, as if the shop never closes, as if he never sleeps. I want to sell a memory, Ethan says. His voice is steady, but his hands are shaking. Which one? 3 years ago, the night the project failed, the board meeting where they tore me apart in front of everyone. My girlfriend packing her bags while I begged her to stay. My father hanging up on me when I called for help. All of it. I want to sell all of it.
The old man studies him carefully, those ancient eyes seeing right through him.
That memory is worth 8,000 points. But are you certain? That night shaped who you are today. It's a turning point in your life. Without it, you won't remember why you fell. You won't remember the pain that made you who you are.
Good, Ethan says. I don't want to remember. I'm certain. I want power. I want revenge. Very well. What kind of power do you seek? I want a genius-level mind for business, and I want to see through people, to know what they're really thinking. I want to know when they're lying, when they're plotting, when they're about to stab me in the back.
The old man nods slowly. Done.
The crystal sphere explodes with light, so bright Ethan has to close his eyes. It's like staring into the sun. He feels something being pulled out of him, something essential, like a thread being yanked from a tapestry. It doesn't hurt, but it feels wrong, like losing a tooth, like cutting off a limb. When he opens his eyes again, something feels different. His mind feels sharper, clearer, like a fog has lifted and he can suddenly see for miles. Numbers and patterns dance through his thoughts. He looks at the old man and can suddenly read the micro-expressions on his face, the slight tightening around his eyes, the almost imperceptible downturn of his lips. Sadness, pity. But when he tries to remember that night 3 years ago, there is nothing. Just empty space where the memory used to be. Like a missing tooth, like a phantom limb. He doesn't care. He feels powerful.
The next day, Ethan is mopping the floor outside the conference room when he hears raised voices inside. Through the glass walls, he can see Marcus presenting a project proposal to the board. The chairman, a silver-haired man in his 60s who built this company from nothing, looks skeptical, his arms crossed.
Director Kane, this market forecast doesn't make sense. Are you sure these numbers are accurate? Marcus fumbles with his papers, sweat beading on his forehead. His hands are shaking. The data department provided these figures, Chairman. I'm confident
They're wrong, Ethan says. Everyone in the room turns to stare at him, 12 pairs of eyes. The janitor who just interrupted a board meeting? The janitor who just walked into the room without permission? Still holding his mop, water dripping onto the expensive carpet. Marcus's face turns bright red, his neck veins bulging. What did you just say? Security, get this! First, Ethan continues calmly, setting down his mop and walking to the presentation screen. Your market forecast is using last year's data, but the industry landscape has completely shifted. The tech sector crashed in Q3, remember? Second, your cost analysis ignores supply chain risks that are already materializing. Have you seen the shipping delays out of Asia? Third, your competitive analysis is backwards. Your main threat isn't Company A, it's Company B, which just entered the market last month with a disruptive pricing model that undercuts you by 30%. The room goes silent. You could hear a pin drop. The chairman leans forward, his eyes sharp. How do you know all this? Because I used to be an expert in this industry, Ethan says, meeting his gaze without flinching. Before I became a janitor. Recognition flashes across the chairman's face. His eyes widen. You're Ethan Cross? The Ethan Cross from 3 years ago? Yes, Chairman. Then why are you... The chairman gestures at the mop, the uniform, the whole situation. Because I needed to start over from the bottom. But right now, I think I can save this company from making a very expensive mistake. If you'll let me. The chairman studies him for a long moment. Then he gestures to the whiteboard. Continue. Ethan walks to the front of the room and begins breaking down the market analysis. Every number he cites is accurate. Every trend he identifies is backed by data he somehow just knows, like it's been downloaded directly into his brain. His analysis is so precise, so insightful, that even the most skeptical board members start nodding. He draws charts on the whiteboard, his hand moving with confidence he didn't have yesterday. When he finishes, the room is completely silent. Then, the chairman starts clapping. Slowly at first, then faster. The other board members join in. The chairman stands up. Ethan, effective immediately, you're no longer a janitor. I'm appointing you as a project consultant. We'll discuss your salary later, but I think you'll find it satisfactory. Marcus looks like he's been slapped. His face goes from red to white. Chairman, 3 years ago 3 years ago is irrelevant. The chairman cuts him off, his voice cold. What matters is the capability he's demonstrating right now. And frankly, Marcus, it's making you look incompetent by comparison. The chairman turns to Ethan. Welcome back, Mr. Cross. Ethan looks at Marcus and smiles. Not a friendly smile, a predator smile. Director Kane, I look forward to working with you. Marcus's hands clench into fists. Ethan can see it in his eyes. The fear, the rage, the knowledge that his comfortable position is now under threat. Good. Later that day, Sophia Winter finds Ethan in the company cafe. She sits down across from him without asking, setting her espresso down with a sharp click. Up close, she's even more striking. High cheekbones, flawless skin, eyes like chips of ice. That performance in the conference room was impressive, she says, her voice cool and measured. Thank you. I looked into your background. 3 years ago, you were fired for a failed project. Now suddenly you're some kind of business genius? How does that happen? She leans forward, studying him like he's a specimen under a microscope. People don't just wake up smarter. So what's your secret? Drugs? Nootropics? Some kind of experimental treatment?
I paid a price, Ethan says carefully.
What kind of price? He looks directly into her eyes, and for the first time, he can see past her cold exterior. He can see the calculation, the curiosity, and underneath it all, something else. Loneliness. Deep, aching loneliness. And pain. Old pain that never healed.
If I told you I traded my memories for power, would you believe me? Sophia's expression doesn't change, but her pupils dilate slightly. Her breathing quickens, just a fraction. That's impossible. Is it?
She's quiet for a long moment, staring into her espresso. Then she says, very quietly, "Actually, I would believe you, because I did the same thing." Now it's Ethan's turn to be surprised. What?
3 years ago, I lost my twin sister in a car accident. Her voice is steady, but her hands are trembling slightly, making tiny ripples in her coffee. Emma. Her name was Emma. Every day after that was torture. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't function. I'd see her everywhere, in crowds, in reflections, in my dreams. Until I found a shop. A shop in a back alley that shouldn't exist.
She looks up at him, and for the first time, there's emotion in those ice-blue eyes. I sold every memory I had of her. All of it. 23 years of memories. In exchange for emotional control and analytical thinking. That's why you're so cold. That's why I'm so empty. She looks away, blinking rapidly. I became stronger, but I lost the most important thing. I can't remember her smile anymore. I can't remember the sound of her laugh. I can't remember our childhood, our secrets, our dreams. There's just nothing. A hole where she used to be. Her voice cracks just slightly. I traded my humanity for power, and now I regret it every single day. Ethan reaches across the table and takes her hand. It's cold, like ice. I understand. Don't sell any more memories, Sophia says urgently, gripping his hand tight. Whatever you think you'll gain, it's not worth what you'll lose. Trust me, I know. But even as she says it, Ethan can feel the pull, the hunger for more power, more revenge, more control. He doesn't listen. Over the next few weeks, Ethan returns to the memory exchange again and again. Each time, he trades another piece of himself for more power. His first day of school, 1,200 points. His college graduation, 2,500 points. The time his father taught him to ride a bike, 800 points. His first kiss, 1,500 points. With each transaction, he becomes more formidable. He outmaneuvers Marcus in a crucial business negotiation with a Japanese tech firm, securing a partnership that everyone thought was impossible. He speaks fluent Japanese, though he doesn't remember learning it. He exposes corruption in the supply chain, saving the company millions. He predicts market trends with uncanny accuracy, like he can see the future. The chairman promotes him to project director. Marcus is demoted to a junior position, then fired after Ethan uncovers evidence of embezzlement and corporate espionage. Emails to competitors, offshore accounts, the whole thing. Ethan watches from his new office as security escorts Marcus out of the building. Marcus is crying, mascara running down his face, begging for mercy. Please, Ethan, please, I have a family, I have a mortgage, please. 3 years ago, Ethan says coldly, standing at his window like a king surveying his kingdom. Did you show me any mercy? Marcus is dragged away, still screaming. Ethan feels nothing. No satisfaction, no joy, just emptiness, like he's watching it happen to someone else. That night, Ethan sits in his new corner office on the 47th floor, overlooking the glittering lights of Manhattan. He has everything he wanted. Power, respect, revenge, a 6-figure salary, a penthouse apartment. People fear him now. People respect him now. So why does he feel so hollow? Sophia enters without knocking, carrying 2 glasses of whiskey. She hands him one and sits down across from him. Congratulations, Director Cross. Thank you. But you don't look happy. She takes a sip, studying him over the rim of her glass.
I got everything I wanted. Did you? She sets down her glass with a sharp click. Do you even remember why you wanted it? Ethan tries to recall. Why did he want to become powerful? What was driving him? What was the original goal? But when he reaches for the memory, there's nothing there. Just empty space. He sold it. You're losing yourself, Sophia says softly. Just like I did. You're becoming a ghost, a shell. You'll have all the power in the world, but you won't remember what it feels like to be human.
The next day, Ethan goes back to the memory exchange, but this time he's not there to sell. "I want to buy back my memories," he says, his voice desperate.
The old man shakes his head slowly, sadly. Impossible. The rules are absolute. Once sold, memories cannot be retrieved. They're gone forever. Then I'll give back all the power, all of it, every single point. Just give me back my memories. The power has already merged with your soul. It cannot be separated. It's part of you now.
Ethan feels panic rising in his chest, cold and suffocating. Then what do I do? How do I fix this?
There is one option, the old man says, his ancient eyes full of pity. You can rebuild your memories through other people's memories. What does that mean? Find the people who remember you. Listen to their stories about you. It won't be your own memory, but at least you'll know who you used to be. You'll know what you lost.
Ethan starts searching. He finds Maya Chen, the chairman's secretary. She's young, maybe 24, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. She's been watching him since he returned to the company, always bringing him coffee without being asked, always making sure he eats lunch. "Director Cross, can I tell you something?" she asks nervously, fidgeting with her hands. "Of course."
3 years ago, when I was an intern, you were my mentor. You taught me how to write my first project report. I was so nervous, I was shaking. But you were patient. You said, "Maya, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are the best teacher. That's how we grow." Her eyes are shining with unshed tears. That night, we worked until dawn, and you bought me hot coffee and donuts from that 24-hour place. You told me about your dreams, your goals. You were so kind.
Ethan tries to remember, but there's nothing, just emptiness, like looking at a photograph of a stranger.
"I'm sorry," he says, his voice hollow. "I don't remember." Tears well up in her eyes.
That's okay. But I'll never forget. You changed my life that night. You made me believe I could do this. He finds his old colleague, Robert Zhang, now working at a different company. You remember 5 years ago when my father got sick? Robert says over coffee. Cancer. Stage 4. I needed money desperately for treatment. You lent me everything you had, your entire savings, like $40,000. And you told me not to pay it back. You said, family comes first, Rob. Always. I insisted on returning it eventually, but I'll never forget what you did for me. You saved my father's life. He goes home to visit his mother in Boston. She's older now, grayer, but her smile is still warm. She cries when she sees him. Ethan, baby, when you were little, you loved my birthday pancakes. Every year on your birthday, you wake up at dawn and run into the kitchen, and you'd say, "Mom, these are the best pancakes in the world, better than any restaurant." You'd eat like 6 of them. She's laughing and crying at the same time. You might not remember now, but I do. I'll always remember. Those were the happiest mornings of my life. As Ethan listens to these stories, tears stream down his face. These are pieces of himself he sold away, pieces he can never get back. He's a puzzle with missing pieces, and he'll never be whole again.
He returns to the memory exchange one final time. The shop is darker now, the blue light dimmer, like it's fading. I understand now. Understand what? Memories aren't meant to be traded. They're proof that we existed, proof that we loved and were loved, proof that we mattered to someone. Without memories, power means nothing. Success means nothing. Revenge means nothing.
The old man smiles, and for the first time, he looks pleased. You finally understand. But I've already lost them. I can't get them back. No, you haven't lost them completely. They just exist in a different form now. In the hearts of the people who love you, in the stories they tell. You live on in their memories, even if you can't remember yourself. So what do I do now? Use the memories you have left to create new stories. Stop chasing power. Start chasing meaning. Start chasing connection. That's the only thing that matters in the end.
The next day, Ethan stands on the company rooftop, 47 stories above the city. The wind is strong up here, whipping his hair around. Sophia and Maya are both there, standing beside him. I'm resigning, Ethan announces.
Sophia shocked. What? You worked so hard to get here. You destroyed Marcus. You have everything.
I gained power, but I lost myself. I don't want to keep living like this. I don't want to be empty anymore.
Where will you go? Maya asks, her voice small. I'm going to find myself. I don't remember my past, but I can create my future. I can make new memories, real ones I won't sell.
I'm coming with you, Sophia says suddenly, her voice fierce. What? I want to find what I lost too. Maybe we can help each other. Maybe we can learn to be human again.
Me too, Maya says, stepping forward. I want to come. You helped me once. Let me help you now. Ethan smiles, a genuine smile for the first time in months. It feels strange on his face, like he's forgotten how. Okay, let's go together.
The three of them walk into the sunset, their silhouettes growing smaller in the distance. Behind them, the city glitters with 1,000,000 lights, 1,000,000 lives, 1,000,000 stories.
The price of memories is our soul. Power can help us conquer the world, but only memories can make us who we are. In the back alley, the memory exchange sign flickers off. The blue light dies. The old man locks the door and disappears into the night, his footsteps echoing on the cobblestones. Another one who learned the truth, he murmurs to himself, his voice carried away by the wind. I hope he cherishes the memories he has left. I hope he makes new ones worth keeping. The shop fades away, like it was never there at all.